Hey everybody out there, this is Roy Carter from Rectitude Media, and it's been a while, so might as well just get right into it. Looks like right now what's going on in Turkey should be kind of interesting to see what goes on there. I know quite some time ago they even had I guess they were going after anybody on Twitter and social media beforehand. They've had a long history of censoring any kind of journalists or political opposition. Luke Radowski from We Are Change has done some really good videos in the last little bit, and I recommend anybody who's watching this to go check that out, just because he completely sums up everything. The fact that they had a reporter who was killed because she was showing she was doing some actual, investigative journalism, something that the mainstream media doesn't know how to freaking do anymore, and was looking into the Turkish government supporting the ISIS terrorists, pretty much, by any kind of financial and buying up the oil too. And I mean, there's also the case of the Russian jet that was shot down because they were taking out the convoys. Just if you look at the RT and a few other places have released just the footage of like the Russian jets, just like miles and miles and miles of these oil tanker convoys that were going into Syria. I mean from Syria into Turkey. So it was very understandable that was gonna cause I guess Erdogan. And then he was also saying that, oh well, if they find any the Prime Minister was saying, or whatnot, I think he's head of state now, that if there was any kind of if it was any kind of proof that he was connected to terrorist activities, that he'd step down, and he didn't step down. Actually, the journalists in that country have been getting, and political opposition have been getting thrown in jail. They've been pretty much just politically oppressed right now. It's really sad to see. So, the thing about countries like that is, they were trying to play their position, against pretty much like Russia, because they didn't like what was going on there with them bombing the oil, the stolen oil, from Syria. They didn't like the fact that they were taking out the convoys there. But then you also have the fact that there's almost a civil war going on, also with the Kurdish population that's been getting slaughtered pretty much by the Turkish regime. And so hopefully the military that's stepping up is more about trying to make sure that they're making things peaceful. I mean, there was that the airport blast that killed a bunch of people just a few days ago. And I think that might have been one of the straws that broke the camel's back, so to speak. So it's actually kind of interesting that I guess there's been no actual no evidence that the U.S. and the powers that be that control everything had prior knowledge of this coup. And I guess we'll have to see what really happens, what goes on in the next little bit, because Turkey's always been kind of that country that's been walking on some dangerous ground, pretty much working both sides, with what was going on with the West, with their support. And I mean, even having the West trying to put a no-fly zone over Syria, that was mostly pressured on for Turkey too, trying to say, Russian aggression this, Russian aggression that. And obviously Putin stepped up things, and obviously we can't, we have to be a little, we always have to be vigilant about other countries, especially if they have a strong military nuclear weapons. But all evidence is pointing to the case that this is definitely definitely Turkey being overextending themselves politically. That's for sure, because not a lot of people wanted to eliminate all the Kurds. It's definitely been, any kind of political opposition has been really silenced. In fact, right now I do believe that social media has been taken out, so it should be interesting to see how the UN deals with this. I know apparently they're not supposed to get involved in coups, but that really hasn't stopped them before. I mean, especially in the olden days when communism was involved. In fact, the US has been, responsible for putting in many democratically elected puppets, and the UN too, and the IMF. I mean, they're pretty much all cahoots with each other. It's completely blatantly obvious. But another thing that's kind of really kind of popped up the last little bit is it's funny how the media has been, with what happened in Nice, in France and stuff. I was watching InfoWars and Drudge, and I have to say they're bringing up some good points. The mainstream media has been didn't really like to say the fact that they're trying to say that this guy Mohammed, was a Frenchman, even though he's obviously from Tunisia, and it's just ridiculous how they're not going to blame it on Islam. But if, he's a white Trump supporter, then they blame it on Trump, right? Or a white Marie Le Pen supporter, driving a truck into a crowd, killing a whole bunch of people, which is sad because, there's tons of innocent people that got killed. In fact, there was even, like, people that tried to stop it. And, one guy on a motorcycle bike ended up getting crushed underneath the truck. But you don't hear anything about the rise of these Islamic attacks. I mean, let's look at it. Terrorist attacks by Muslim extremists have killed a lot more fucking people than any fucking of this white conservative crazy guy that goes up and shoots like the occasional freaking Planned Parenthood or something like that, which I don't agree with at all. But I mean, let's call it what it is. I mean, if the media right now isn't gonna say, Islam, that he was a Muslim, that he was, even though like his family will deny, oh no, he never attended a Muslim thing and he was a druggie and all this stuff. But look at what's going on in France. There's this huge division when they're bringing in all these Muslims that. Like, even if 1% of these people are like, looking to do some damage and whatnot, that's still a huge risk that they're taking. And, I mean, if you look at the polls, too, like, they don't agree with homosexuality. These extreme Muslims that they keep talking about are actually, the Wahhabists and the Salafists are taking a good portion of mainstream Islam. A lot of people don't believe that homosexuals can be a good Muslim, and I don't agree with that whatsoever. I mean, I've had friends and also family that's gay and stuff like that, and I love them to death. I want them to be happy and successful and not have to worry about that kind of like getting thrown off a building and stuff like that. And I think that's one of the things that really pisses me off about the regressive left is that they're just completely allied themselves with a crazy ideology that would just as soon throw them off a freaking building than be their friends in any kind of way, shape, or form. So it's really kind of just, I don't understand how people just don't call it out for the bullshit that it is. And excuse my French, I mean, I'm trying not to swear, but it's just really gotten to the point where I can't believe it. I mean, every time that there's someone that says, or has even a history of being a truther or a conservative or whatnot, or somebody like even leftists who are against like the whole central banking scheme and the monetary policy that's pretty much this giant freaking complex formula that's doomed to fail eventually. And I just can't wrap my mind around it. It's insane. It's a lot of people would think, oh well, this is just a byproduct of the interventionism that happened in Libya and Syria. But let's be honest, a lot of these people that are coming have fake passports and aren't even Syrian and are military-age men. Like, a lot of these people are just looking for a better free deal, and they're economic migrants. Let's call it for what it is. In fact, I really like Lauren Southern. She went over to to Europe not too long ago and was showing how you have like all these liberal mainstream like journalists that are doing these little like interviews, and they try to get all the little kids from the thing, even though like the majority of them are military age men, and she like pans the camera and you barely see like a one female or like any kids in the freaking thing, yet over on the side they have like 3 kids and a woman there talking about how great and how wonderful they've been treated and stuff like that, or maybe that they needed more handouts. It's ridiculous. It's definitely a planned agenda by the UN and NATO. There's no going around it. And I'm all for people that have skilled labor coming over to a different country and immigrating if they have skilled jobs and there's a demand in the workforce in that country. Nothing wrong with that. And in fact, my grandparents came over here to Canada from England, and they escaped Thatcherism when she decided to completely destroy the the industrial centers of England. So he was a welder. He had a lot of experience in the steel steel industry. So he came over here and made a lot more money. He wasn't under such high incredible taxation as what Thatcher did. And a lot of people over there that made a lot of money off the rentier class, where they would just buy up property and pumped up that bubble, have nothing but good things to say about people that don't actually add any wealth whatsoever or economic strength into their nation. Instead, they're just all about wealth extracting, which is pretty much the policies of deregulation, Reaganomics, and Thatcherism pretty much did to North America and the UK. So, it was designed that China is going to be having like all this productivity and doesn't have to pay any tariffs. So, we made it that way, and a good portion of the blame lies on us for allowing that to happen. And for not questioning these free trade deals, which have done nothing but screw us over. And I think a lot of people listening to this channel probably knows all about it, and so by all means, good on you for knowing the fact that a lot of people are like, oh, well, you're just getting pissed off and complaining about things, but it's so out in the open that they have, like, if you look at the sustainability plans that they're trying to put in, where they're like, trying to give like fines to kids, like, for trying to set up lemonade stands and just small like mom and pop operations that are being shut down because of all this government oversight, and all around the world. It's not just happening in one town or one country. Take the push for like every time there's like a push for vaccinations, it's a global push. Like everywhere in different countries, there's billions spent on trying to get people out to get the flu shot, get certain stuff like that too. Also with the education, the more dumbed down and the more especially colleges and university all around the world are being. I was talking to a couple of friends who are actually in the UK right now, and they're getting to the point where they're trying to bring in all these like cultural sensitivity lessons and stuff, to be able to go to college, university, and they have all these people that are being, just for posting on Facebook their opinion on either Black Lives Matter or, Muslim terrorists, and they're being kicked out of freaking college and university. And these are people that aren't directly talking or making any statement towards their educational institution, but because someone gets mad and sees that they happen to go to that place, then they put up a big, like Twitter mob or rage mob, where they're online trying to, with their little keyboard warriors, trying to get people fired and stuff from their jobs, which is just ridiculous. True liberalism is people that allow different opinions, Like I don't agree with the Muslim, like Islamic religion and, Sharia law and stuff, but, people have the right to want to live under whatever, oppressive system they want. That's their choice. But when they try to push that onto, let's say, Western culture, then I'm sorry, but I have to stand with, the Western, somewhat democratic, freedoms that we all have, where, you don't have the right to impose your laws and your religion on myself, or my family for that matter. That's where you gotta draw the line. And let's be honest, a lot of people don't even know what Sharia law is, but when they look into it and they're like, oh, what? They treat like women as subclass, sub-citizens, as if they're like worth about half the value of what a man does, and they can, pretty much, like where a woman has to be supervised at all times or can't drive, they just allowed a woman to vote in Saudi Arabia. Oh, wow. Congratulations. Nothing about the fact that, they still can't go out with a chaperone, or they can't even go to a Starbucks to order coffee in Riyadh. Oh my God, it's ridiculous. But it's not just Saudi Arabia. There's a lot of other countries, but I'm taking Saudi Arabia as the main example because of what was released with the 9/11, the 28 pages from the Intelligence Committee report. That just goes to show you everything that conspiracy theorists, and those crazy truthers have been talking about for almost 15 years now. 15 years. And I tell anybody who is listening to this should probably watch I'll put the link in the description, the We Are Change video where he goes into, or read the 28 pages for yourself. I mean, they openly admit that there was some Saudi involvement, and that, Prince Bandar and, Omar and just all these other names that I can't really pronounce that well if I wanted to, being a white Canadian guy, just how much they funded the terrorist, or how much they had, they were even looking for flight schools for these terrorists, and the fact that the FBI, kind of knew what was going on. The thing about the 28 pages is that there's some redacted bits that I would kind of I really want to see after just reading it, because I just found out about the 28 pages being released. I've been trying to get a hold of those pages for God knows how long now. It's been ever since I found out about them. So I'm really happy that Luke put the links out there, and that they're out, because that's something I've it vindicates a lot of, at the bare minimum, the Saudi Arabia had a lot to do with 9/11. And let's look at what happened with 9/11. Instead of, after the Intelligence Committee report, when they were doing that report, this is way after the 9/11 Commission, the NIST report, which was just proven to be completely bullshit, and they spent a ridiculously low amount of money to investigate. Also, let's not forget the fact that they took all of the evidence and shipped it overseas and melted it down as soon as possible. So, I mean, that's a guilty conscience in any kind of scenario. In a crime scene, let's say somebody gets murdered. Do you automatically just take the murder weapon, melt it down into into a liquid metal form, and then take the prime suspect and all of his family and fly them to another country where they can't be extradited? Well, let's be honest here. There's some really shady freaking things, and if you look at the way that the whole 9/11 was pretty much, the investigation was perpetrated, it was meant to protect the Bin Laden family. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And the fact that the mainstream media doesn't cover this, they kind of did about a month or two ago, but I'm sure they probably got a little bit of forewarning saying, hey, the 28 pages are about to come out, and geez, guys, you better do your freaking job, because we can't just keep saying that they're all tinfoil hat conspiracy theorists anymore. So, I mean, that's just how it goes to show you just how fucking controlled and manipulated the mainstream media is, and how, even though I'm just some dude who's got a screwed up spine and is just doing whatever I can and trying to go swimming as much as I can, as you can see the tan there, more like sunbird face, I'm saying more truthful things on my channel and other channels like We Are Change, and hell, even InfoWars has been spot on for the past little while. I don't agree with him on Trump, and a few things I don't agree with him on, with their religion, and because I'm not religious, and the whole abortion thing, I'm pro-choice, so I understand that they're trying to push it that way, and they make some good points. But for the most part, they've been spot on. They've been covering what's been going on. Maybe not so much as the 9/11 pages, but I'm sure they'll probably come out soon, because I'm getting everything a day beforehand, because I don't actually, have the money to spend to get his live podcast. Of course, I could probably use a Kodi app out there where you can get the show live streamed pretty much when it's happening, but that's just too much effort. So anyways, just want to let people know that anybody out there who hasn't read the 28 pages really needs to read them, because man, as much as the FBI is trying to cover their own asses, they really did not. They knew what was going on, and they didn't do a damn thing to investigate Saudi Arabia. In fact, what they did was follow the PNAC report. And I think anybody here who may or may not be familiar with the PNAC report, the Project for a New American Century, which was signed on by all the neocon pricks out there who wanted to go into war, pretty much the agenda of the last almost 15 years through Bush and through Obama. He continued the PNAC report, because the PNAC report didn't stop, nor did it begin with Afghanistan or freaking Iraq. They wanted to go into Iran, they wanted to go into Syria, they wanted to take out different parts, and Obama completely followed that plan. And here they are, knowing full well that Afghanistan didn't have really that much to do. I mean, the Taliban were operating in different parts of Afghanistan, but they were running across the Pakistani border. And anybody who was in the combat situation found it almost like the Vietnam rules, where they're not allowed to fire on certain positions unless they get like confirmations, or if they go across the Pakistani border, they're not allowed to engage. And pretty much that's why we lost so many people. I mean, like, we had these terrorists that were going across from Pakistan, setting up IED road bombs, going back over to Pakistan, and taking out troops that way, unfortunately. It's a war of attrition. And when you fight that way, and you can't go after the people that are causing the problems, you're pretty much screwing yourself over. It's an unwinnable war. And the fact that Canada, for example, has been in that hellhole of Afghanistan for quite some time, we have no right to be there. You know, what is the death of Canadian soldiers done for the people of Afghanistan? It's made it so that opium has been on the rise for growing. In fact, there's been a lot of times where both Americans and Canadians have been protecting opium fields in Afghanistan and different parts of Iraq, which just goes to show you. Then all of a sudden, as soon as that happens, was it like 3-4 years ago, the big pharma started coming up with these reports saying, oh my god, we just have this like huge increase in people that are dying from opiates overdoses, and it's such a problem. But let's roll the commercial for the next opiate that's been approved by the FDA. Just smile, kids, for we have a pill for every single problem that you may have. So just goes to show you just how corrupt and freaking moronic the whole thing is. It is an evil system when you look at just the whole combined effort. When you look at one part of what's going on for the global effort, for the New World Government, for the removal of national sovereignty, you may look at one issue and be like, well, yeah, it's kind of out there, but, it doesn't really have anything to do with anything. But look at this. Like, the whole reason why we're at World War III, the potential with World War III, with Russia and China, mostly Russia, is because Putin put his foot down in 2013 and said, no, you have no proof that it was the Assad's military that was using the chemical gas canisters. And by doing that, what happened? Next thing you know, they're kicked out of. He's practically shunned from the G8. And then they had Christine Lagarde doing that weird freaking numerology. Like, if anybody knows who I'm talking about, she was head of the IMF there for quite some time. She goes on there and starts doing this weird freaking numerology bullshit that all these like weird occultist elites are into, that are just fucking ridiculous. And she's going in there saying, oh, blah, 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 and that equals 7, and we need 7. 7 is the magic number. Pretty much just saying, okay, well, yeah, Russia's out now. And hey, Ukraine was a mess. I mean, a lot of people that died there. But if you look at the actual leaked videos in the Maidan Square, it was actually the revolution, like the ones that were like the far right that were actually shooting at both sides to try to bring things to a boil. So I mean, Storm Cloud's gathering really covered it pretty well there, and just madness. It's what it is, and. It's crazy. It really is. I mean, with the downing of Russian planes, the Dutch planes, just what's going on right now. It's crazy. The Egypt plane that was shot down. It's almost gotten to a point now where, it's almost like I feel bad for anybody in Europe that's right now it's a powder keg, and there's a rise of the rise of the right, for example. I mean, I have problems with conservatives and Republican opinions. I mean, I kind of try to find like a middle ground, because there's certain things that I do agree from a liberal standpoint, but there's also things that I just either agree or don't agree with the conservative / Republican, especially Republican. Republicans are idiots. I'm kind of a libertarian that way, but even saying I'm a libertarian, there's a lot of things that I don't even agree with that platform. So I mean, what am I going to call myself? What label am I going to put on myself? Well, to be honest with you, I'm just a human right now, trying to figure out this mad and crazy screwed up world. And I mean, I'm all for people's freedoms. I'm all for free speech. I'm all for, the right to self-defense. I'm all for just the freedom to exercise your religion, to go out and contribute to the world regardless of how you were born, or like, I don't care what people do that are, if it's consensual adults doing whatever behind closed doors, that's fine with me, as long as they're not like little kids, as long as they're not bestiality, or as long as not dudes dressing up as dogs and shit like that. I mean, that's kind of weird, but hey, I mean, it's a free and open society, so what can you do, right? But anyways, it's gotten crazy. It really has. We are at a powder keg right now for possibility of World War III, especially with what's going down in the South China Sea. Even the Chinese, what the president was telling the people's army there to get ready for potential World War III. And I mean, mainstream media has really done dick all. I mean, here in Canada, practically CTV, CBC, all of the main Canadian news outlets are completely biased. Are in fact a lot more biased than some of the the networks in the States, I find. I mean, I haven't seen them say one good thing about Donald Trump yet. I mean, practically nothing. In fact, to them, he's practically the Antichrist. No real criticism of Hillary Clinton. Nope. In fact, we're so open here in Canada, there's not even really any criticism of the fact that we're bringing in unvetted refugees when they were actually doing fine in Turkey before all this civil war crap and everything happened years ago. And it's just ridiculous. It really is. And the fact that we've been spending the Fraser Institute, as much as I understand their conservative think tank, $16 billion is still a conservative estimate of what they're saying is going to cost us to bring in all these refugees. And the fact that they're staying at these fancy hotels and stuff like that, when we have Canadians that are homeless, that probably need potential care. We have the native population here in Canada, where there's certain areas where their water isn't even freaking drinkable, but yet we're pandering to the UN agenda of bringing in a bunch of unvetted Sunni freaking radicals and stuff. Like, it's just ridiculous. Or Shiite, I don't know. To be honest with you, it's so crazy. It really is. And here in Woodstock, they had to where I am, they had a city council meeting where there was an imam that wanted a government grant. Even though they said that they would help with some administrative costs and stuff like that, they actually wanted a government grant, which is kind of illegal because there's even churches that have applied for it, and they have this clause where no religious institution is it's exempt from the grant. But they had this guy that tried to pretty much say, oh, well, it's our right, and we need a grant for a mosque and stuff in Woodstock, and we're a growing Muslim population, so we deserve that right. And you know what? There's a lot of churches in Woodstock. I wouldn't have a problem if there was a mosque, to be honest with you. But the fact that they want taxpayers to pay for it when we're already bringing in, tons of freaking people and giving them, the 5-star freaking hotel treatment, no. If you have a growing Muslim community, then get them to pay for your damn mosque. Or, do a Kickstarter. Or find a group of other mosques in the area that are willing to, put some money in to help you guys out. I have no problem with that. That's, the free market of religious ideas. If you have plenty of people that are willing to give into your ideology and willing to give up that, 10% or whatever fraction that they pay, by all means, go for it. But the fact that they want everyone else to pay for it, and that's what I'm starting to see is this whole pay, the little pissed off Bernie supporters. And you know what? I'm sorry, but I knew I kind of liked Bernie in the States because you get this whole thing with the Republicans and conservatives and libertarians that are oh, socialism is evil, socialism, blah 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 blah. But democratic socialism worked for quite some time here in Canada. In fact, what ruined it for the Canadian people is when we amended the Bank Act in 1974. And that was thanks to Trudeau Sr., who worked with his CF, Council of Foreign Relations, and Trilateral Commission cronies from the Economist back in the day to completely screw us all over. So, I mean, we had the, because we weren't paying the compounded interest that we owed that was just being, racked up exponentially over the course of time. In fact, I think less than 10% of what we're actually paying off is what we actually borrowed. So, I mean, that just goes to show you how just screwed up the whole financial system is. Yet, you ask any mainstream economist, they'll tell you that a central bank is a good thing because, countries can't regulate things themselves, even though, I'm living in a country like Canada where we've done great during recessions because we have lots of resources to give out, to sell and to exchange for the products. And that's the one thing that they never included when they did their whole, when are they trying to do the austerity? Yeah, when they were making the austerity measures. They never put in the countries that did well during recessions, that, still had resources, that still had a decent, strong economy, and still had some manufacturing in them. In fact, they practically just went after most of the service-based economies and said, oh, look at this. This is, we need to spend less. And, even though the trickle-down effect, they kept printing out the quantitative easing. They kept throwing out all these worthless fiat currency, and it didn't go to the regular people. Here, that's what pisses me off about the Dallas speech with Obama. The whole time he's been in office, he has done nothing but A, double black unemployment, B, completely create racial division by saying, oh, well, the police have problems in this country and blah, 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 which they do. But he's also, jumping on the bandwagon from people that are all talking about, killing cops and stuff. And I'm not for that. I'm not for killing black people. The whole fact that, they've got this, twisted, okay, for a sensible person, all right, let's, do a little thought experiment. Let's just a tiny little thought experiment. Now, let's imagine this is 10 years ago. Back, after the whole, 90s crazy LA riots, gang stuff, the CIA infused cocaine into the poor black neighborhoods and stuff in the 80s and whatnot. And when we had around the millennium, just before the 2001 9/11 attacks and stuff like that. What would sound more racist to you? If I were to say that all lives matter, or if only black lives matter? What sounds more racist? Any sane person would be like, oh, well, you're obviously favoring just the black people, so that kind of sounds racist to me. I mean, I'm all for the sanctity of all life, and to make sure that, police officers that do go crazy and do abuse the system get fired, get their asses thrown in jail. That's what they deserve. If they're gonna break the conduct and just act like an alpha type A personality and just start freaking killing people for whatever reason. But I mean, let's be honest, the left isn't they released this video, and Crowder completely destroyed it. As much as I really disagree with him on a lot of things, Steven Crowder, you really put the nail in the coffin when he was talking about how they're trying to say, oh, well, this person was killed just for driving, or this person was killed just because something wasn't, something really minute and whatnot. But a lot of the times there's been these people it's not a clear-cut case. I mean, Michael Brown wasn't some innocent, peace-loving guy that put his hands up while, that was proven to be completely erroneously false. And, yeah, it's crazy. It really is. And, I'm just a cis white male, so my opinion doesn't matter. Fucking feminists and fucking the left. Oh, my God. But it's gotten to the point where it's just complete madness where, for me, I will listen to anybody's, perspective, even if I don't agree with it. That's what you have to do. And especially when it comes to listening to different news sources, hey, sometimes there's the alternative media has a hit, and sometimes it has misses. It's just like any other news organization. But the thing about the alternative media is that they're more likely, they have this journalistic integrity that the mainstream media does not have. In fact, it's pretty sad when we are at a time in our civilization where, if you look back to the Cold War, where, you had all these communist, like, people that were coming over to the West because they wanted to, have, like, freedom of speech and wanted to say their criticisms and have proper dissenting opinions to the establishment. That was well welcomed back at the time, because it was like, oh no, communism is evil. It's all about, oppressing people and, and all that stuff. And, but then you look at what we have today with the mainstream media being so heavily controlled. I mean, you got Roger Stone, he's like, the guy has whether or not you agreed with his time with Nixon and stuff like that, he has a very long established political career. And yet he's practically banned from MSNBC, CNN, all the major news sources. They have this thing where if you go on there and you say something that, they don't like, then you're blacklisted. You have no chance of ever being back on there again. And it's not something I'm making up. I mean, Jesse Ventura came up openly and said, like, look, they have a lawsuit against him for something that he didn't even do, and was like for the whole what was it the American Sniper. And I guess they were trying to say that he walked into some bar and said that, oh well, he was glad that a bunch of Navy SEALs got killed, and the guy got up and punched him in the face, which was proven to be completely fucking false. And now you have the media trying to sue, I guess trying to overturn or whatnot what's going on with that lawsuit, where they can pretty much print whatever they want, like any kind of slander, and not have any second opinion on there. In fact, in the States, they legalized propaganda so that they can completely lie to the people. And they haven't held back in that whatsoever. I mean, just recently, they had the State Department come out and say, oh, Obama's sending troops over to Syria. And then the reporters are like, oh, wait a second. Didn't this administration say many different times in the past during that whole 2013, when everybody was when we were like this freaking close to World War III, this close to World War III, what did the mainstream media focus on? Miley Cyrus's fucking ass twerking at the fucking VMA Awards. That was the biggest thing, Like, what the fuck is wrong with our society when we're so close to annihilation? Like, how are we ever going to stop ourselves from getting too close to the fire when we don't even realize that, that we're getting there? Like, we don't even feel the burn at all. And a little joke against the Bernie supporters there, but it's just gotten to such an insane, ridiculous level where I just, that's the reason why I'm doing this right now. I mean, I'll be lucky if I ever make it past 50 subscribers in the entirety of this channel. But to be honest with you, you'll get more honest information here than you ever will from, CTV or CBC or, for people who are in Canada or whatnot, especially in Canada, because it's just, at least in the States, they have a few, like every now and then they might do like a 60 minutes thing on the 28 pages or whatnot. But of course they're doing it just recently because, 10 years ago, anybody who questioned it was unpatriotic. And, Bill O'Reilly, how he was like, going on this big, like the Republicans and the, in the States or whatnot, they considered you practically a domestic terrorist for not going along with the, killing, how many millions of people have they taken out following the PNAC report? And what has that done? That has completely destabilized the Middle East. And what did the UN do? They took advantage of it. They're like, oh, all these migrants, huh? Well, Peter Sutherland and all those Ban Ki-moon or whatever the fuck that idiot's name is, all get together and we're like, okay, we got to figure out ways where we can use this to our advantage. And here they are trying to make it so they're passing laws in the EU where you can get like fined over 200,000 euros for rejecting a freaking migrant in your country. It's just like, what the f is going on here? I mean, it's an outright plan to completely screw over the national sovereignty. I mean, and with a Brexit, then there was also talk about the EU passing laws where they completely dissolved the governments and would have to follow like the EU agendas and everything. And I mean, what's going on now with NATO, for example? I mean, here in Canada, we just had Trudeau sign a free trade deal with Ukraine. And I have a huge problem with that because, instead of with the Ukraine crisis, and I've made many videos on this, you're more than welcome to go back and check it. I just think that the UN should have done its due diligence. It should have taken both sides and be like, try to settle things the right way and have them, settle it through a democratic debate or, an election. But no, instead they completely had George Soros pulling the strings from his Open Society initiatives and all the groups that he had there in Ukraine that were tied to the neo-Nazi fascists. In fact, the mainstream media, the BBC reported the rise of fascism in Ukraine, and I've linked that video and videos that I've done before. And I highly, I think anybody now that's probably awake knows that there's neo-Nazis in Ukraine and that we're supporting a regime that has some neo-Nazi elements in there, which is not cool, Klitschko, for example, the guy was badass fighter, but he's an obviously fucking neo-Nazi crazy motherfucker. I wouldn't want to hang around him. Probably, freaking kills Jews for sport. I would be surprised, And I'm not saying that, the Zionism is like completely in the fence here, because there's a lot of stuff that they've been doing behind closed doors, which is really shady and which is actually kind of causing more of the problems in the world. They practically own Hollywood, and, as much as people are like, oh, that's just a theory, that's just, it's actually true. They have many publications saying you're crazy if you don't, if you say that the Jews don't run Hollywood, or the fact that you've got China that's putting a lot of they had to remake Red Dawn, different parts of what was it, the Mission Impossible, the Rogue Nation, if that was it, or one of the Mission Impossible movies, and a few other movies too. They've been anything that makes the Chinese look bad, right? Obviously it's the Russian boost. The Chinese boosters that save Matt Damon in The Martian. And you also have Matt Damon coming out and saying that he's, even though the irony of him promoting one of the new Bourne movies. What would one of the new Bourne movies be like if there was no weapons and everybody was just giving each other hugs and, here's a flower. Oh my God, not the flower. Get that flower away from me. No, I'll tell you everything. It just wouldn't be the movie, and here he is trying to say, oh, guns are bad. I like what you did in this country. You guys in one fell swoop took away all the guns. And for me, I'm pro Second Amendment for the states. I myself, I don't own a weapon here in Canada because, well, I don't know. I just don't really have the requirements, especially since I kind of screwed up way back when I was 21, and the criminal record kind of stops that. But I still support the right to defend yourself. And I'm a big guy. Most of the times that I've been in trouble and stuff, I've been able to kick some ass. So that was before I screwed up my spine. So now I'm kind of watching which fights I get into, so to speak. But for the most part, people have that right to defend themselves, and I'm all for that. And I just think it's kind of hypocritical that you get the same people that are talking about, getting rid of all the guns. Let's take the left argument for getting rid of guns, for example. Not only do they want everybody not to have guns. Oh no, they want all the guns from all the peoples. But the celebrities are allowed to have their bodyguards with guns. The politicians are allowed to have their bodyguards with guns. But regular people aren't, because they're just they're peons. We just can't allow them to be able to defend themselves, because obviously look at all these gun-related deaths that's going on in America. It's just so sad. It is just so sad. Oh my God. But yet, we're not allowed, I guess what, by the left's way of logic, not only are the people not allowed to have guns, but white police officers now aren't allowed to have guns. In fact, we should get rid of the guns from the police altogether. And I'm not joking. There's a lot of publications out there that are advocating for police not to have guns, which is just stupid. If a terrorist wants to kill a bunch of people, he's going to get a hold of weapons. It makes it harder for law-abiding citizens, or just regular people in general, to be able to save themselves in a really bad situation. When that old saying is true. When police are minutes away, seconds count. And I think that's what the left just really doesn't wrap their head around, and I just think it's ridiculous. It really is. On that whole gun control issue. I mean, if you look at I think it was Defense Industries, the Cody, I can't remember his last name, but the guy who was doing all the printing the lower receivers for different rifles and stuff like that. And it just goes to prove you that the gun control issue isn't an issue, because people can print guns now, or print parts for guns. And it's just getting to a point where there's going to be our own manufacturing economy can be easily brought back through a peer-to-peer economy. And Corbett Report has done some really great videos on just showing you how people are learning how to like print their own houses now, or learning how to like print their own crafts, and are completely not relying on the cheap Chinese labor on this whole slavery system. And I mean, the biggest craze now is this Pokemon Go thing. And I understand there's a lot of people, like the privacy, people out there that are saying, well, cell phones are there to track you, and the government can, all your invasive privacy and stuff like that. Or the fact that almost everything we do nowadays is pretty much, like, stored on a freaking Prism network somewhere, depending on what country you're in, the Five Eyes, and God only knows what other kind of organizations out there that are collecting all your metadata. And, they're collecting all this data, and what are they looking through? Looking for? I mean, like, they're not catching any terrorists. I mean, there's been plenty of different times where they could have done something, but yet they're going after, I'm sure they're probably just busy looking at all the nude pics, just be like, hey guys, you gotta come over here, check the rack out on this lady, oh my God. All of a sudden, there's a little beeping little warning message out there for some potential. Put that away. We want to see some boobs. God forbid we don't want to do our job. We just want to sit here in the NSA where it's nice and air conditioned and look at boob and dick pictures all day. That's our whole job. That is pretty much career perverts. The NSA. Yeah. But anyways, and even CSIS is here in Canada is trying to. I guess to make a Twitter profile. Gotta be more apparent, and be, hey everybody, if you see something, say something, right? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But jokes aside, it's just ridiculous. But I mean, with the Pokemon Go craze, it really seems that a lot of people just don't care at the fact that, they're pretty much doing a Google Map overlay. And I was reading in the privacy, in the actual, because that's what I'm doing now for pretty much anything where they have the terms of service. When I was looking at it, pretty much, see, I don't have a smartphone, and but I'll be honest with you, being close to 30 years old, growing up in like the 90s being a 90s kid is kind of like was kind of cool, to be honest with you, because it was at that time where the 90s still had that era, like I was born like in the 80s, like mid 80s, so by the time I was around like 90, like the 1990s came around was when I was more kind of like aware of what was going on and had like when you're a kid and stuff. And it used to be a time where it was like being a 90s kid was awesome because it was worth it to get up on a Saturday morning because they had like wicked cartoons. They had really good TV shows that were all about, if you look at a lot of the stuff from the 90s now, it kind of has like that kind of corny family value feel, but it wasn't all just like beep, 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 all OCD and like, sure, there was a few shows like that. Like if you look at, like I was into Pee Wee Herman and stuff like that, which I really hate admitting, and now, since I'm going to be uploading this video, that's out there now. But if you look at it, I look at the episodes now, and it's made for OCD kids, so maybe I just had like some sort of like, they did put me on Ritalin for a very small period of time before my dad was like, nope, he just needs to get spanked, and took me off the thing. Totally fine after that, so. But, it was a time where there was still some of that innocence. There was still that whole, there wasn't this huge social freaking uprising of, you can't say this or you can't say that, or, everything was pretty much open, and a lot of people had kind of like that good nature to them. It wasn't until 2001 with the whole 9/11 attack, which goes to show you that it was, if you look at the 28 pages, it was completely inside job. It was designed to take people's innocence from the 90s to about the millennium. I mean, they tried to do that whole thing with the, Y2K bug to get everyone all into, scare, fear-based crap and stuff like that. But when 9/11 actually happened, I mean, it really killed a lot of the innocence from a lot of people, because a lot of people got affected. They were pretty much all put on the media bandwagon. In fact, it was probably one of the biggest cases of media manipulation that ever has existed in history, because it was a global scale. It was an international effort done by a very select few groups of main entities that run the media and political establishment, that all were for following the PNAC report instead of going after Saudi Arabia, which obviously is the real culprits behind the actual attacks themselves. So, the terrorists didn't wanted to attack us because of our freedoms, apparently, and so we decided to pass the Patriot Act and the NDAA and many different equivalents from different countries ever since that, because we had to combat extremism. But yet now, ever since Obama's been in power, extremism has been, apparently it's the white conservatives, it's the Christians, it's the evangelicals, it's the the returning veterans, for example, which, like, the Department of Homeland Security is openly pretty much this whole using instinctive response for the police. Where's the criticism of the fact that you've got non-NGO groups and this whole Strong Cities initiative programs that are being pushed for the police departments to shoot first and ask questions later? Where is the understanding? Where is the cultural, okay, well, put your weapon down. We really don't want to shoot you. You probably got some mental health things going on. Let's figure that out. Let's get the proper help for you. Nope. Instead, it's, oh my God, draw your guns, boys, shoot first. It's happened a lot. And I mean, I understand that police, they're in a very stressful position, and a lot of times, especially in the States, where you're dealing with a lot of crazy different areas and stuff like that, where people really would not want to be, but you got to do it, especially with the domestic disturbances. You never know what's going to happen with crimes of passion with people and stuff. But it's still no excuse to abuse your power as a peace officer. So obviously there's problems, but the way it's being handled is if, that all this police shooting a black person is, the biggest thing ever, when, there's white people that are getting killed by the cops too. And, if you look at actually, statistically, more people die in a medium to large size city from car accidents than they do from the gun violence in the States. Yet you don't see every single person that are getting a family of 5 being crushed by a tractor trailer. You don't see this huge movement to start suing the tractor trailer companies and stuff like that because they just so happen to run over someone in an accident or whatnot. Or you don't see them trying to take these truck drivers to it's just so ridiculous. It really is. The amount of people that die from medical mishaps, is more of a concerning thing, especially for anybody that, is going to pay that money for, the ridiculous amount of cost that you have to pay if you're not on the proper insurance program in the States, where, you're paying a shit ton of money only to die because, an inept surgeon happened to leave a tool in you or something like that. It happens such a regular occasion. It's scary. And, no, we don't talk about that, because who runs the commercials after the mainstream media ads? The pharmaceutical companies. And who happens to be in conjoint with these pharmaceutical companies? The medical community. So, I mean, it's really hard to say that, everything is, that you have to, I'm not saying they fear your doctor or anything. I'm just saying that you have more of a chance of dying from a hospital-acquired infection than you do of ever being killed by a terrorist or a police officer. But, still being that, I mean, when you get pulled over, it's, if you act like a sane person and it's just being like, hey, I'm cooperating. But, I also kind of realized, too, that sometimes you get those asshole cops that are like, oh, well, you're not in control of the situation, sir, so we're going to have to ask you to not be so nice, just shut up. I got that twice, because I don't know, because a big guy. I don't know. I think one time way back in the day, I kind of like, which was one of the reasons why I got in trouble. I drank way too much alcohol when I was depressed because I thought a buddy of mine killed himself. It was just a fucking mistake because I found out that he just moved, and that was after like a huge story, long story that I'm not going to get into. I'm going to keep to the political stuff. But long story short, I ended up going to my mom singing like a tribute show as like Tina Turner, and I got like ridiculously drunk and woke up in the hospital apparently. The owner didn't like me going up on stage dancing with my mom, so they sent the bouncer, and that didn't work out too well, and they called the cops, and I was completely blank-out drunk. I ended up waking up in the hospital looking like Nick Nolte, so, oh my god. That was pretty much the only time I ever really screwed up, but I've always been, like, completely normal and, like, you know, in my own frame of mind ever since that happened. You know, I've used it as a kind of like a warning not to like get completely blank out drunk drinking like 3 fucking 26ers or something like that, because it's not good for me. I can drink, but you know, being a big guy, but you know, if you get to a point where you're not in the good mood, you're not in a good headset, it's really easy, well, for me to kind of just go black out and go fucking primal, right? But you know, for the most part, that only happened like once or twice in my whole life, and you know, it's just ever since then, it's just kind of interesting. But anyway, getting back to the police, you know, like, you know, even though you're like being like, hey, I was being like, I'm here to cooperate. You know, I'm not going to do anything crazy or anything like that. You know, you guys are fully in control of the situation. They think automatically you're trying to control the situation, which is just ridiculous. Because I'm just like, no, I just don't want to get my ass thrown to the ground and, you know, beaten the shit out of for you guys stopping me for whatever reason you think I'm doing, you know? So, and I understand that in the States, you know, you can't go wrong with the fact that well, I say you can't go wrong, but you can't argue with the statistics that have came out showing that, you know, obviously black people are getting stopped more and more, and the whole New York stop and frisk thing is just stupid because they're pretty much targeting anybody who looked like they, you know, had like their pants down to their ankles or whatnot, which, you know, anyone looking like they are like from the street or whatnot. So it's just kind of just a horrible way of going about things, because I'm all about, you know, people have the freedom to move around without being harassed. So, you know, obviously there's problems, but I mean, the problems that get focused on as the problems that are actually you have to worry about are not being completely portrayed in the media. I mean, it's gotten to such a point where, you know, like you can't really say anything now. You can't have any comedians that go to like that go to like college or university campuses, because God forbid you say one joke that's like not, you know, gender inclusive or whatever the hell they want to, you know. And I got no problem with trans people. I've got plenty of like online friends and people who I've known before in school that have ended up, you know, changing genders or doing whatever they want with their body, and that's totally fine. That is their decision, and I totally respect that. And, you know, I mean, I don't have no plans of chopping off my willy anytime soon, but, you know, different strokes for different folks, I guess. And, you know, I mean, I have no problem with that, but when they're trying to make it so that, oh, because all of a sudden the average person doesn't realize that doesn't remember the 50 different possible genders that there are out there now, you know, apparently go from 2 to like 50. So, you know, because people don't know that, or because they're white, or because, you know, they're cisgendered white male Pinocchio face. I don't fucking know, whatever the shit they're coming out with now. That you know, that your opinion doesn't matter. Like, that's stupid. You know, everybody's opinion matters. Like, everybody's lives matter. But, you know, you say that now in the media, and, you know, like, that Canadian tenor guy that totally shot himself in the foot, maybe that all lives matter thing might have worked, like, 10 years ago, when, you know, there wasn't all this whole, like, reverse racism bullshit. You know, probably still would have got fired, because, you know, it's the national anthem. You know, you don't pull that shit when you're in, like, of course, you know, it was the All-Star game in the States. Probably, like, the Americans were like, is that really the Canadian anthem? Wow, I didn't know they had All Lives Matter in there. You know, like, they probably didn't know the Canadian national anthem, so probably only really Canadians that got pissed off about it. You know? Of course, you look at the look on the guys, the other tenors, they're just like, what the fuck are you doing, man? Just, like, straight looking at him like, what? This isn't part of the thing, you know? It's just like, dear like watching like tenor deer in headlights. That's what I'm gonna call it. Anyways, jokes aside, it's just just kind of making a video way too long as I normally do, but I kind of go like a while without releasing anything, and then just kind of like boom when I have too much anger and frustration with the world, make a video. So thank you all for listening. I really appreciate it. And to like what the 18 subscribers that I have, but you know what? I don't care. I mean, you look at all the stuff that's going on in like YouTube right now. All this like bullshit drama between like guys like Keemstar and like FouseyTube, who's got like a nose that you just want to punch right in the face. I don't know. It's one of those prominent noses that if I was just like, you just want to break a couple times. And the amount of times that guy's pissed off people, I'm surprised he hasn't got his nose broken a couple times. I'm just saying, I'm not advocating it or whatnot. I'm just saying, assholes like that, my experience usually, Anyways, I guess that's because I'm just from the streets. Just kidding. Yeah, right. I'm from the streets. You'd be seeing me more at the food court. On the outside. I'm on the streets. I'm usually eating Quizno sub. No, just kidding. Anyways, all right. I'm too rich too poor for Quizno Subway. I just don't want to endorse them because of that whole Jared thing. Anyways, this is turning more into a comedian bit than what's actually going on politically. But you know what? Nowadays, you have to laugh. You have to have a sense of humor, because if people aren't going to connect the dots and see what's going on with these global pushes for taking over sovereignty. And what pisses me off, too, is that you have Obama going on the Jimmy Fallon show, being like, are you down with the TPP? Well, I'm down with the TPP. Making all sexy with the TPP. Yeah, we're going to screw over your future. We love the TPP. Yeah, we're going to make it so that you need an internet ID to be able to download anything. And then even then, you're going to have to pay money, because you can't download things because of our patent laws that happen to just, join up with the American patent laws, but internationally. I'm down with the TPP because we don't want you to have anything for free. Yeah, the TPP, it works for me because you can't have anything free. Are you down with the TPP? Yes, I'm down with the TPP. Why am I down with the TPP? Well, I'm down with the TPP because we get all the authority. Oh yeah, we're down with the TPP. Like, here they are pushing just like, and you have like Clinton that's pushing the whole TPP thing too. And I feel bad for people in the States that were Bernie supporters, because they probably thought that was probably their best option. And when you've been subjected to a two-party system for quite some time, I mean, you can understand how people put a lot of faith in Bernie. And the thing is, though, a lot of young people were in it for the free stuff. I mean, come on, young people. Admit it. You wanted free stuff. But hey, you know what? Obama should have bailed out the freaking lower class, middle class people, instead of the freaking, they should let the banks fail. Give all the free money, free freaking FUBU and fried chicken endorsements to the black community and, people everywhere, Just give everyone free shit. Some smokes and alcohol, fucking get ripped, That's what I'm saying. But no, people don't get bailed out. In fact, it's the banks that get bailed out. In fact, if you watch The Big Short, practically with the CDOs, the synthetic CDOs, the banks knew that their credit ratings were shit. They were packaging them up in these giant bundles and making their little shit bundles smell like fucking alfalfa and rosemary. Trying to spruce it up for everyone so that it makes it look really nice. But, ultimately, they knew that it was going to be the people that bailed out the banks, and that they wouldn't let the banks fail, because they had their boys. They had Paulson, they had, Bernanke, they had all these little financial wizards that, that believe that gold is valueless and that, fiat currency is pretty much whatever they say it is, So that kind of arrogance in any kind of civilization, ultimately, it's pretty much the befall, like the pride, get the fall that comes afterwards, right? As the old saying goes. But, it was designed completely to screw people over. I mean, you look at just the trillions of derivatives that are out there. Like, what happened with the Brexit? Right afterwards, that price manipulation had nothing to do with the buying and selling of what was going on. It had nothing to do with the supply and demand. It had everything to do with speculators that were betting on these, like the futures market, that were just betting. Like, there were some people that made £100 million, £200 million off of the people wanting to leave the Brexit. I mean, wanted to leave the EU. And they also have people that lost a lot of money off of it. So, I mean, it just goes to show you that we don't have a real economy anymore. That the economy is pretty much an oligarchical system. It's a kleptocracy that is made in a socialistic kind of scenario. But it's not socialism for people. It's socialism and corporatocracy for the multinationals, for the very elite, for the big players. And, I mean, you see all these regulations and that are being put on. I mean, the regulation that's being put on now isn't being put on the heavy polluters, isn't being put on the companies like Apple that make their whole entire business model off of slave labor. No, it's based on trying to make it so that farmers can't have a fucking pool for, like, a pond for their cows, or that farmers can't reuse the seeds that they've had in their family because, God forbid, they just happen to be contaminated by the neighbors because of the crosswinds. And they've even done studies showing that, crops can be, that organic crops can actually be contaminated by GMO crops as far as 300 miles away because of different wind patterns and stuff, especially in the grain belts in the States and Canada. So, I mean, you had Percy, I can't remember his last name, in Saskatchewan that fought a huge thing, lawsuit against Monsanto, and, it's gotten to the point where we're just, if you have to really look at it from a wide spectrum of attack that's being carried out on the average people. Like, the fact that, I've talked to a lot of people being involved locally with, like, the politicians and stuff, and a lot of them thought fluoride was just a joke in the water, just some crazy conspiracy theorists, but there's actual, studies that have been put out there showing that fluoride actually reduces the IQ, and that's one of the reasons why I filter my water now. And I pretty much am going to be putting in a thing where, because my sister and her boyfriend, the baby daddy and stuff, are living in London right now. I'm thinking about setting up a thing where, even though I don't have a whole lot of money, I'm going to be making a system where I can take the filtered water, put them in, like, 5-gallon office water jugs and give it to them, and then each month kind of, just because, she's kind of got my niece on formula and stuff, and, you kind of need those fat enzymes and stuff from natural breastfeeding, but, I can understand, too, because I was put on formula, but I, was a pretty smart kid and stuff like that, too, so hopefully the genetics prevail on that, but, she's made the decision to have the formula and stuff, so I want to make sure that at least I have filtered water for her, because, I care about her, and I care about my niece, and I want to make sure that, they're going to have a fully healthy, and, what I loved about, like, seeing my niece every, like, once or twice every month, because, they're a good distance away, but for 40 clicks from where I am, it's been good seeing just, like, the development of, like, just, like, this, like, being of just pure curiosity and just joy. That's just, like, she loves, like, it was funny, too, because, every single thing that they've tried to make her watch or whatnot, she's just not really interested in, like, the kids programs and stuff, but they put on Pengu, which is, like, this weird obscure TVO show with, like, this weird penguin. They don't even really talk English or whatnot. In fact, I think it was a, like, Chinese company or whatnot that ended up buying the rights to it and having it over in, like, another country or whatnot after it failed here in TVO in Ontario in the 90s or something way back, when my sister was in diapers when she used to watch that show. So it's kind of funny how, like, they both used to watch that show, so I just think it's really adorable. And so I just want to make sure that they have, everything, that she has, like, every advantage growing up, But anyways, that's just me getting a little personal with my family life and stuff like that, and plans, things that I plan on doing. And I encourage everybody else, if you can filter your water, or like, that's a good thing. That's a good start. I mean, that's one of the things that are being put out there. I mean, if you look in the States, and just like those parts where they had like the in like Flint and like, oh my god, in different parts of that, where they have people that have been using the water being charged, like their water bills are through the roof, and the water that's coming through their pipes is like causing them, like when they're taking showers, to have like huge like bits of hair falling off, and like bits of lead and mercury and stuff, and that they're drinking and ingesting that stuff, and like teeth falling out and rotting out and stuff. Just horrendous. So, and the fact that they had a damning FDA report that was leaked, I guess, that showed that a lot of water places would have a warning beforehand when I guess regulators, people would come to test like what's going on in the pipes and stuff would come, and then they would just kind of flush everything out, and then just kind of, because that would get rid of a lot of the crap inside the system, so that when they came to test it, it didn't look so bad. And there was plenty of cities where they did that, and it was just fucking horrible. The water that they've been giving the people is unfit to drink, and it's gotten to the point where there's I mean, I used to be, when I was in Nelson, back in 2007, I was out of high school, had an ex-girlfriend, and things didn't work out too well. I mean, I really cared about her and stuff, but I mean, I was kind of young and stupid, and I realized that, I needed to get out of where I was in Burlington at the time, because, it was just, needed to get out of Ontario. And as much as I love my friends, they were solid people. I was living and working and, having my own life outside there. I really needed to go out west and just kind of experience, like, because I went out west when I was like really, really younger, but, and like my memory wasn't nearly as good as like actually going out there, and I loved it. I went out there and it was just awesome. And that's when I first kind of came across the, like the odd person that was out there talking about, chemtrails in the sky. And they made some valid points that, if you look up in the sky, there's certain jets that when they have their like the vapor trails, then they disappear. And there's other places where you see that they end up like staying in the sky for a very long period of time. And so that kind of interests me. At first I thought, they were obviously just like any other person, that they were completely, kind of nuts, and that it was a crazy thing, and that, pilots and people who were like the ground crew of like mechanics and stuff like that, who worked on aviation and mechanical engineers, would catch on to the fact that there's particulates being sprayed into the atmosphere, because I was thinking to myself, well, obviously they would have to know when they're spraying stuff and when they're not spraying stuff, kind of thing. But sure enough, I started looking more into it, and I mean, even Chuck Norris has done a really good on WorldNet Daily. I recommend anybody who hasn't checked that out to go check that out, and there's some pretty damning evidence. And what really sold me for weather manipulation, and the fact that it's been used, aside from the times where it was used in the Ho Chi Minh Trail during Vietnam, which is confirmed, been declassified, where they used to try to flood that out. Just if you look at the U.S. Patent Office and the amount of patents that have been put out for weather modification throughout the years, there's been plenty of different U.S. government approved and meteorological service approved patents for that you never heard of. Like I went to go search some of these patents up, and like almost none of them were being used commercially for a good portion. And it's only recently that they're coming out with saying, oh, well, because of this whole global warming thing, we're going to have to go out and start spraying aluminum particulates and different stuff into the atmosphere. So it just goes to show you just how polluted the atmosphere really is getting, when you get people that are getting all kinds of sorts of cancers that live out in rural countries that rural areas that don't really but I mean, obviously with all the pesticides and the fertilizers and stuff that we're spraying with the genetically modified organisms, and there's a huge thing with that. I mean for me, for food, it's always been a hard thing, because I've always liked to eat food. Obviously I'm a big guy. I've been trying to lose as much weight as I can. I've been going swimming regularly now, which is good, because it's with my screwed up spine. Like I'm feeling it right now. I almost gotta freaking lay down soon. But it's been good for my weight loss and stuff like that. So that's been great. Kind of helped me out with the exercise there. But I mean, genetically modified organisms, it's almost impossible now. I mean, the whole crops have taken over. I mean, soy crops are practically GMOs now. Corn crops, wheat, different types of wheat strains and stuff are just being completely turned over to GMOs. And why it's being preferred is they can pretty much just soak it in fucking glyphosate and all kinds of weird ass chemicals and shit that kills off the bugs and any other plants, but happens to still be. And it's not so much as like the genetically modified, the fact that they make things bigger. It's the fact that they're crossbreeding certain strains with things that we've never experienced before. Like the food that we're eating now is not the same food that our grandparents ate. And if you look at like a lot of like when they were talking about when they were young, they used to eat a lot of fattening stuff, but they were still able to like eat it and still be healthy for the portion. It's only recently. Recent epidemic in the last 50 years that there's been such a huge rise in obesity and diabetes and stuff like that, which is something I'm trying to avoid. Ultimately, just trying to lose some weight and get more into shape there, which is good. But you can't deny the fact that there is some ethical questions being raised about the genetically modified organisms, and the fact that companies like Monsanto, who have been behind chemicals like Agent Orange that have they practically just completely contaminated the Anniston water supply in Alabama. I think it was Alabama in the States, where the cancer rates were just completely through the roof, and through the BPA, and they were trying to say, oh no, this isn't anything to do with our company, when they've been completely caught out in the open spilling for just decades. And they settled the lawsuit there, but by the time people got to see any money from that class action lawsuit, a good portion of them are already dead. That's usually how it works with these big companies, because average farmers and average people can't afford to fight huge lawsuits. In fact, a lot of the times they have to go through class action, civil cases where they're, where the company that does it doesn't even really need to claim responsibility. They're just there to, they're just there to try to settle so that it doesn't make it to the news. And usually with these people, when they do get money, they have to sign these non-disclosure agreements to say that they're not allowed to, talk about the fact that they were being poisoned and their lives were being destroyed in the first place. So no wonder why, we have this huge, just kind of brainwashed mentality in the public, that, science is, completely 100% correct, and that there's absolutely no agenda in the pharmaceutical or in the medical or the scientific community, when, there's all kinds of evidence out there pointing otherwise. I mean, let's be honest, we're human. We're prone to manipulation. When there's money and power being involved and influence, there's going to be different agendas. There's going to be different people out there wanting, things to go a certain way. And let's be honest, it's not going towards the betterment and the healthcare of average people. This is probably like my generation, and like the younger generation, anywhere from like what they say millennials to the 30s, are going to be one of the first generations that might not even outlive our parents. That's a very scary thought because of the amount of stuff that we're putting into our food, our environment. I mean, like with Fukushima that happened, I thought there would be a lot more focus on that, but no. In fact, the environmental movement didn't even give a shit about Fukushima. 3 weeks after it, there was barely any mention about it in the news. Even though it was like one of the second worst disasters and dumped like tons of freaking metric tons of contaminated water into the ocean, and like the radiation like spike levels up on the west coast of Canada and the States, and a lot of that stuff managed to make it all around the world. What did the Nuclear Regulatory Committee do? They raised the amount of allowable radiation. So apparently within 10 years, just like with, I guess maybe it was all the genetically modified organisms, maybe it was all that geoengineering that's made just apparently the human race just more susceptible. Like, we're stronger towards radiation now. In fact, I think if World War III happens, we won't even need a fallout suit. We don't even need to wear the power armor because of all the genetically modified stuff. No, I'm just kidding there, but that's obviously humor. But I'm just saying it's crazy. And these carbon taxes that are being pushed. If you look at the offsets, just type in Google the carbon offsets that these carbon taxes are trying to make a system out of. It's just a derivative system. It would be one thing if it was actually like on the exchange or of like or the exchange or reduction of carbon. But it's not even that. It's a derivative market. It's bets upon bets upon bets. It's just another way to make money. It's a huge global taxation scam. And then you have people that are giving into this whole technotronic future of how synthetic reality. Like, you see, I play an online game, and I spend a lot of time into it. In fact, I'd probably do a lot more videos if it weren't for that fact. But, you know, I mean, it's. I have some people who I've known on there for years who are good people, who I talk to, who I confide in, and I value their opinion and stuff. I mean, obviously, it's not the same as meeting or having friends in real life that you can actually, meet in person or go out for, like, watch a movie or, have it, like, develop real intense relationships with. But, I mean, they're still good people, and it's still fun to do because, well, I live in a town where really the only thing to do is go to a movie or go to a bar and get drunk or karaoke. I mean, I'm a good singer, but I don't really like to hang out in the local dives because, well, I really don't give a shit about small town drama and bullshit, really. I'd rather just do my own thing, which I do. But, what we're dealing with now is just an attack on so many different levels. And as much as people, like, make fun of guys like Alex Jones, and, sometimes they miss the mark, but they are on the mark a lot more than what you will see with a lot of the mainstream news outlets. The mainstream news outlets are just for anybody who actually has a mind of opinion of themselves and know that it's not all about Russian aggression and that Putin's not all trying to start World War III and that, there actually is corruption in government and stuff like that, and that, the media isn't always honest, and obviously they're trying to pander towards the people who are sponsoring their commercials. Those people realize that the mainstream media is bullshit. And what I like about the States is that they're starting to show that, like, in different polls, that people are less trusting of the media. And in the States, I understand that because there's such a huge, intense kind of polarization there. Oh, fuck. Oh, Jesus. But anyways, here in Canada, we don't really have that much. And that's what really scares me, because Canadians are so, like, we're too nice. We're too complacent. It really is. We have kind of like if you ever watch Canadian news, like, they will show you, like, a political story or whatnot, then they'll show you a feel-good story, then they'll show you, like, something with, like, some sports and weather, stuff like that. It's pretty much for the 6 o'clock news. It's like pretty much a program. Like, it is TV programming, right? So they're trying to, like, they might bring up an issue, but they won't bring the full issue. They won't tell you both sides of it. They won't tell you, the reason or the history, why it's there. They'll just be like, for example, I happen to watch CTV. I think I was talking about last video that I made, and this is around the time when Trump said that Mexican judge or whatnot had some that was investigating Trump University had some had, like, some conflicts of interest, that he was a Mexican. He was obviously a Mexican national and was going to be against his policies because of the way that he's it's politically motivated, because he wants to build a wall and I guess get, like, the stop the trade surplus with Mexico. And CTV and CBC and all these are like, oh my God, look at how racist Trump is. He said this person was a Mexican who was investigating him. But they don't mention anything about the fact that the guy was actually affiliated with La Raza groups, which is pretty much the equivalent of the Mexican KKK. Nope, we don't want to mention that little tiny fact in there that might just completely throw our whole bullshit prerogative narrative right into the fucking open. Nope, can't do that, because that might actually, require people to think. And people start thinking critically. Oh my God, we can't have that with Canada. We're supposed to be polite. We're supposed to drink our Tim Hortons. We're supposed to watch our hockey. Oh my God, what are we gonna do? It's just so sad. Seriously, it's brainwashed. It really is. CBC. I mean, I used to think they were just really kind of a great network because they would talk about certain things, but now it's like, I mean, back in the day, the CBC was a hard-hitting news organization. Like if you look at the what happened with the MK Ultra program, with the I'm trying to remember what his name was. I'm trying trying to remember the guy who did the experiments. But anyway, in Montreal, they had the Allen Institute, and I guess they were doing all kinds of crazy ass experiments there involving the CIA, where they were taking mentally, like pretty much people in like had mental problems, and they would try to like give them like an intense. I think it was Dr. Cameron. Eugene Cameron, I think it was Eugene, but he pretty much thought that he could like de-pattern people, which means like pretty much like at first he started a repetitive thing over and over and over again, talking about like their deepest fears. Like somebody would be like, oh well, my husband doesn't love me or whatnot, or I'm not a bad person, or blah 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 blah, or something like their deepest fear or something, or it's there's this TV movie, and as much as I hate TV made for TV movies, it's actually really good. The Sleep Room, I think I might have mentioned it beforehand, but pretty much just goes to show you what was going on in the whole situation, where they were giving like electroshock therapy. This was like back in like the 50s or whatnot, when they were like giving people like LSD and giving them like all kinds of drugs to put them in like this weird coma and shit, and all part of the early programs for the MK Ultra program. And the Fifth Estate, back when there was a lawsuit that was being put on, when like a lot of mainstream media at the time wouldn't even really touch that because of the implications, the national security defense that they always use when it comes to stuff like that with top secret programs, and obviously there's that whole communism threat and stuff like that. But I mean, like how far do you want to go down that rabbit hole before you end up becoming the enemy that you are trying to fight, right? I mean, let's not forget the fact that a lot of people's lives were completely destroyed. People died. They said people were cured, sent them out, and they went all fucked up because ended up dying outside, and or the one guy, or the people that they were dosing in the States, when there was people that ended up dying because they were dosing them without their knowledge with LSD and stuff, like totally messed up. And the Fifth Estate was hard hitting, back in the day. They, like here in Canada, they actually did some real investigative reporting. They went and talked to the people. They showed the proof that there actually was, and the back and forth from what was going on with the CIA and with the Canadian the Canadian Parliament and defense ministers and stuff. So, that was hard hitting news. That was something that I was very like even though I wasn't born around there, when I actually saw the video, I was just like, man, that's awesome. I'm so glad that they had the Fifth Estate. Or when in the 80s, when they had this thing for the mining companies, where they used to coat with like an aluminum they'd have like this powder where people would like breathe in their lungs so they didn't get silicosis, which is just a horrible health practice. And they went in there and did some hard, this is like back when Canada has like very long lasting mining interests here. I mean, it was a really big, and it still is a good portion of what we're actually taking for resources and stuff. There's a lot of mineral resources, even like Sudbury is a big one. There's tons of places where we have, because of the Canadian Shield, we're lucky that we have like some of the oldest rocks and some of the best places to go. Like even out in Nelson, BC, they're still finding gold and silver veins and stuff, and even old mines like the Kenville mine. When I was out there, that was kind of cool. But it just goes to show you that there was a time when like the media in Canada actually didn't mind going all out and trying to promote independent journalism, like asking hard hitting questions. And what do we see now? I like the Passionate Eye and like stuff like that. They're all talking about, there's like an hour-long thing on how evil Putin is, and just like, oh my god, look how evil Putin is. He has this like hatred towards gays. Let's not mention the fact that Canada supports and has a working relationship with Saudi Arabia, who executes homosexuals, throws them off of fucking buildings. But let's not mention that, because God forbid we mention the fact that there's neo-Nazis in Ukraine. No real investigative journalism on that here in Canada. Nope, can't say anything about that. In fact, it was actually the Sun reporters, and I'm not some of the stuff that Joel Vaughn does, I just kind of really disagree with. But hey, I'm glad that they're out there because they've totally exposed the fact that the Liberals really didn't vet any of the refugees that are coming here into Canada. In fact, they had a Liberal actually pretty much admit that they weren't in refugee camps; they were living fine in Turkey. And this is way before all this stuff happened, and and that a lot of military-aged men, and just like they weren't in any immediate danger. So we were practically just bringing these people over without asking any questions. They had this little photo op thing where they had the question sheet. They did a Freedom of Information Act to find out what questions were being asked these people that were coming into Canada. Oh, apparently there was no such thing that exists. So it was just a photo opportunity to make them look good, of course, right? So I mean, that's why I think it's good to have different opposing viewpoints from political perspectives because, like with CBC now, they have gone so liberal, like just absolutely multicultural liberal. Like they did this like a whole bunch of videos on just like rape culture in Canada and like on the campuses and stuff. And yeah, okay, I understand that a campus for their own like legal obligations are supposed to make sure that none of that like stuff happens on their campuses, and I'm all for that. But when they make a huge focus mainly on the rape culture in Canada or the wage gap in Canada or other bullshit feminist myths in Canada, that seems to be the main fucking thing, Or God forbid we criticize the fact that Trudeau has spent in 6 months. 6 months of that cocksucker being in prime minister, he has spent over $20 billion fucking dollars on foreigners. $20 billion fucking dollars. It's going to be $16 billion they're estimating for the 500,000 refugees, which are probably more. Where they're just giving us it's not like we're having a little tick counter and having an official thing. We don't know what's going on, And he also gave like a few billion for like a world. Like for a kids thing for the IMF and the World Bank, the UN, and crap like that as soon as he got in. So this guy's been just writing checks left, right, and center. But it ain't been to the Canadian people. It's not to the homeless people. Sure as hell ain't to the fucking native people, even though now they're trying to make a big thing of it because it happened to get to the news that people are, committing suicide or, they have communities that have boil water advisories and stuff. And hey, you know what? Whatever your opinion on the native population in Canada is, they should probably have, like, this is my opinion, they should have more of a priority than people that are coming from a questionable part of the world that were originally put in there to take out Assad's regime with that whole Sunni Shiite bullshit. And instead, because they failed, and they're stuck in, like, Turkey and different parts of that, we ship them over here to Canada, or they get shipped over to Europe as a liberal sacrament. Now, there's just a lot about that just really doesn't make any fucking sense to me. Because why are we bringing in, like, even the possibility, let's say we bring in, like, out of that 500,000, there's like, let's say, 1%. But that's still 5,000 people that could possibly be doing some crazy shit here in Canada. And let's not forget the fact that the mainstream media in Canada has gone out of their way, completely out of their way, to make any story that happens to come up in Canada as a very minor issue. Very minor. Like, they wouldn't report on the fact that in Halifax they had a school there where they had a bunch of migrant children, refugee children that were actually, like, attacking the girls in there. Hey, you know what? Maybe it was just an innocent little thing where they actually kind of have that little crush. You happen to be when you're in school and stuff. But because they come from a culture where it's okay to treat a woman like shit, that's their way of showing affection. Doesn't work here in Canada. But yet, when the family came out and said something, they were completely told by the schools, they were completely told by the police, they were completely told by the media that their argument doesn't matter. We don't want to be seen as xenophobic. No, we're Canadians. We don't want to be seen as, potential racists. What do you think? Donald Trump's running for president here? We have a feminist in charge now. We have the NDP in charge of Alberta, completely screwing over companies that happen to push for the whole bullshit carbon tax that are completely exempt from the fucking taxes in the first place, while everyone else gets to pay. That's what it comes down to. And that's my biggest fucking concern when it comes down to, like, the parties here in Canada. I mean, I went for the NDP just because I like the local writing. It's got a button right here, Zoe Kutchner, who I happen to, do some volunteer work for and stuff. And she, completely awake. I couldn't believe how just much she knows what's going on in the New World Order. And Brian Smith, great guy. He's done a lot of work in the community. He's been against the dump, something I haven't really done a whole lot with the bipartisan group, the Coalition for Social Justice and stuff like that, the last little bit. And what I like about them is they actually do stuff in the community. It's not all about, like hating the cops or trying to cause bullshit fucking roadblocks and stuff. They're actually trying to do stuff to better the community. And for people and activists that do stuff like that and are attributed to whatever party, those people I have no problem with, because they're really trying to change the world for the better. And I respect that. It's the people that just follow a party just because they don't want to, like they do it for whatever really kind of like reason without actually like thinking what they're actually doing, what the agenda is. And this carbon taxation is just bullshit. And I know you may agree or you may not agree with me when it comes to the whole, climate change. I mean, we just had a really, the jet stream's acting crazy and stuff like that. But I mean, we have weather modifications, and they're just coming out to admit that. It could be because of that. There's also people going out there saying that Nibiru was getting close and stuff like that because of some weird thing that NASA said about their, I guess the thing that they used to go take pictures of Pluto. They're going to be trying to, and they said, apparently it's easier to take closer to take pictures from Earth or something. I don't know. That's just kind of happened to, when you're on YouTube and, it's on autoplay. It just happens to kind of go toward the kookier side with the flat Earth and stuff, which I don't really agree with. Because, we have, like, a lot of mathematics and that have been, like, or like, people, like, even back from, like, Aristotle, that, like, after, like, years of it being lost and after they, like, found it and, like, being used for, like, another book, they managed to find all this stuff that was, like, written beneath, so they managed to, like, translate it and stuff and find out that I think there was, like, what was it, Aristotle, or maybe not Aristotle, but I'm trying to remember the Greek mathematician. Like I said, I'm talking about so much stuff now. It's hard for me to go to one specific thing, but he ended up like doing a calculation showing the curvature of the Earth. That it was round and was very close to the actual measurement by a certain percentage. So it's really hard for me to believe that. People out in the ocean with all those like sextants and compasses were all wrong, like obviously they're, the Earth is round. Like, even though I've never seen it from space, I really hate can't really comprehend the hollow Earth or flat Earth theories. But hey, those people deserve to be out there and to do their thing. It's up to you whether or not you believe it or not, right? Because unless you see it for yourself, it's really hard to see. Same thing with the whole spiritual aspect of things with ghosts and EVPs and stuff like that. If you don't experience yourself, if you don't have, something that you believe in or whatnot, if it doesn't happen that convinces you otherwise, then, you'll find it still hard to believe. It's really hard to believe what quantum physicists are saying about how like, particles can exist in two places at once and stuff like that. Just stuff that you would think is completely insane, but hey, it's just the nature of the universe, apparently. And what we don't know is a huge percentage of it. That's why when anyone say the science is 100% settled on anything, that's just total bullshit, because we don't even know a good portion of what the universe consists of, like good portion of it. We can't see, we can't touch, we can't feel on even a matter, like a level of matter particles whatsoever. It's just a whole hidden aspect of things that, who knows, maybe it's multidimensional, maybe it's a dark energy thing, maybe it's a heaven, hell, maybe the whole spiritual thing there. I don't believe it word for word, but who knows? I keep an open mind about that stuff. And I think anybody who does, cool. If you're an atheist, that's fine. If you're an agnostic, cool. If you're religious, then that's cool. Just, when people are getting like trying to shove it down people's throats, or religion for some people is a good thing. I met tons of people that were addicts that needed that kind of religion to kind of like keep them going on the right path. And by all means, when I traveled out with a backpack and going around all over the place, it was usually the Christians that were offering a place to sleep or a meal or something like that. Just really great people when I was like living outside and like working through temp agencies and stuff like that, and I completely appreciated that, and helped them out with whatever I could do and volunteered when I could, but I wasn't really religious, and nor would I ever follow the fact of like the Bible as gospel, but you know, I understand where they're coming from, and I understand that it's good to have that general goodwill towards humankind and to treat people the way you want to be treated, kind of thing, right? And have the respect and all that jazz. So, you know, I encourage anybody that has a different opinion to come out and say something, and I'm probably going to cut it off right now just because I've been talking for quite some time, and anybody that's listened to it for as long as they have, by all means, like, if I could give out medals, if I wasn't poor ass, I would, because you obviously deserve one for listening to my crazy ass for so long. But just gonna leave it at that right now. Hopefully things, you know, don't go off all crazy, and hopefully cooler heads prevail with what's going on in Ukraine and Turkey and the South China Sea, and with upcoming elections and the whole race war in the States, and just the whole Islamification of Western countries, and third wave feminism, and all that other wonderful crap that's completely ruining the world right now. But anyways, thank you all very much, and keep on rocking in the free world for as long as it stays free, and I will be doing probably some more videos in the next little bit. Keep holding off on the economic collapse series. Mostly because, I'll be honest with you, X-22 Report, that guy has done like 1,000 episodes so far, and like, that guy is just like, he blows anything, any kind of economic, I follow what's going on in the markets, and just like the rampant manipulation, you know, but like, I love watching the Kaiser Report. Kaiser Report's good too, but I find Stacy's kind of like more like the cooler head, because as much as I like Max Kaiser's rants, you know, the guy's hilarious, but sometimes it gets a little cartoony. But, you know, he knows what he's talking about. He knows that the whole market is rigged and the Forex system's rigged, and, you know, it's just, yeah. So anyways, I recommend those channels, definitely. Don't really recommend any other YouTube channels, because there's so many, like, pop culture channels, like Philip DeFranco, for example. Like, you know, the guy kind of gets it, but he doesn't, you know, it's kind of iffy. For people that like what's going on in popular YouTube news and stuff, by all means, you know. But, yeah, I kind of like listen to it every now and then just because it's something, and he's not a total liberal douche, so it's kind of nice to hear people's opinions. Like, I'll even watch TYT every now and then, as much as I completely disagree with a lot of the stuff that they come out with. Not because they're liberal, just because they're fucking completely biased, and whenever they come out with, they don't look at the other side of the argument. In fact, they come out and just kind of disregard it as a illegitimate argument, or they say, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist, or some bullshit about that. Even though it's open, the fact that, like, even the guy from I'm trying to remember, it's kind of like the offshoot of TYT, Secular Talk. That guy even admitted that TVP is pretty much a globalist attempt to take over sovereignty and, you know, bring us into a one world government. So, you know, it's out in the open now. There's plenty of documents out there for anybody to really check out. All you have to do is Google search the New World Order, and, you know, you can easily find plenty of different articles and the stuff that really connects all the stuff, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the old robber barons, going back from the time from like the 1800s, you know, to now, seeing how everything's kind of branched off into different, you know, round table groups out there that happen to run things. They even have Hillary Clinton on a YouTube video, and if you don't believe me, search up Hillary Clinton gets told by this Council of Foreign Relations, and she even has this thing saying, oh, I'm so glad we moved just down the road from y'all, because now I don't have too far to go to be told what to do. I'm just like, so, it's so open. But anyways, thank you very much out there. I'm sure everybody who's listening to this knows what's going on. Like I said many times before, keep on rocking in the free world. Thanks for putting up with my quirky sense of humor, and you know, just take care of yourself, take care of your family, and spread the word. That's really all you can do right now. And I mean, a lot of people, it's easy to be, you know, scared into saying, well, I don't really bring this up because people think I'm a conspiracy theorist. But you know what? Especially with the 28 pages, I think that's something that we're really going to win on. If you say, hey, 9/11 is an inside job, or wear the t-shirts, you can go out and find local embroiderers like I did with Stop the Trans-Pacific Partnership, and also Saving Seeds is Not a Crime, and Farmers Before Banks on the back. You can do that pretty much any place that does like embroidery for like jerseys and stuff like that for soccer and whatnot. Usually if you talk to them, and if they're not like total assholes and jocks and whatnot, they'll work with you and put like some slogans on your shirt. So I mean, for people that don't have the money, or like here in Canada, let's say if I wanted to order like a shirt from like where you're supporting different channels and stuff, well, you're paying anywhere from $35 to $50 just for the shipping and stuff like that, when you can easily just take an old shirt and just go over to like a local embroiderer and get them to put it in for like maybe like $15-25, and then you have a personalized message to say whatever the hell you want, to whoever the heck you want. And I noticed with the TPP shirt that I had, I started so many different conversations, and that's just like people with the whole InfoWars things that are owning the conversation with the Hillary for Prison shirts, which I think are awesome because she's obviously a criminal, and people have gone to jail for a lot less. In fact, like 15 different cases of people that have like lied to the officials, that have or like mishandled top secret documents like Petraeus, that have been like indicted for a very small amount of punishment, or disgraced, but because that's the real white privilege, is Hillary Clinton. Like, what talk about white privilege? That bitch hasn't been charged for anything. Like, oh my god. But anyways, it's really late, and it's 3:42 in the morning where I am, so I am going to leave you guys at that. And sorry for keep coming out all these things that just keep coming to me to keep talking about. So that's why I kind of like to wait a while and then just kind of come out with a large group of things that are on my mind, because you know how it is. Anyways, keep on rocking in the free world, and take care, everyone. Peace.